We have made here a very exciting archaeological discovery. We've located this pile of rocks, which looks like just an ordinary pile of rocks. But out here in this remote wilderness area of Falls County, Texas, central Texas, these rocks mean a lot. We think this is the location of the burial site of James Coryell, a Texas Ranger killed by the Indians in 1837, scalped and buried in the ground. And we know from historical documents a pile of rocks was put over top of his gravesite.
It looks like 13 centimeters.
Finding this particular location where we're working today was an accidental find. We were digging a trench for a new fence, and we bumped into a rock. And so, lo and behold, we examined the area, and there were a pile of rocks, and we said, oh my, we think we have something here. This could be Coryell's grave.
Right along here is the edge of the grave shaft. This is the grave shaft. The clay here, this orange clay, is dirt from deeper down that was dug up when they dug the grave shaft. They placed the body in the grave shaft, and then they mixed the soil, and this deeper clay is now a little bit higher in the ground. We know from the historical accounts that rocks were put on top of the grave by slaves who lived in the area in the 1840s. Here we have the rocks directly over top of a grave shaft. Everything fits perfectly. What we're going to do now is we're going to remove the rocks, and we're going to start excavating on down and find who is buried in this grave.
It looks like it's 2 meters, 20 centimeters in length.
All right, we'll start with this right now. I think that's perfect, yeah. Right now we are excavating on down into the grave shaft, but we're just beginning that process, so it's going to take us quite a while to get down to the depth in which I think we're going to be finding the human bone down here. At first, we're going to look for evidence of the coffin, the wooden coffin. It's going to be very deteriorated, and then below that, we're going to be looking for human bone. So far, our grave shaft is turning out to be incredibly deep. And we've gone as far in our hole here as we can, digging the way we are. What we're going to have to do is remove more of the grave fill to get down to where we believe James Coryell is buried. Oh, all right. It's hard as can be down here. The dirt down there is so hard to be able to continue to work and make sure that when we encounter human bone that we don't damage it. We're putting water in the grave to soften up the clay. Makes it a lot easier to dig. All right, let's let that soak in a little bit. Well, let's see. Looks like bone. Yeah. So it looks like cranium, but it's very friable. But parts of the human skull would be my guess right now. So we may be looking at the outside of the head compressed against the other side of the skull. So at this point, we don't want to do any more because the forensic evidence we're looking for is still there. And we would have to very, very carefully excavate that to find evidence of the scalping, the cut marks on the cranium. And it may be that we can only observe that in situ. We've come back here to the gravesite of James Coryell to now go back down into the grave shaft itself and encounter the body, record as much information as we can, and recover the remains. Because of the weather here in Falls County in wintertime, we've built this shelter over top of it, so no matter what happens with rain or snow or whatever might occur, we have an all-weather capable excavation down inside. Right now, we're doing the last excavation down to what will be the skeleton. We have, I'm estimating, 6 inches, maybe a little bit more, of grave fill that we have yet to dig through. And we're starting to go through that very carefully because we don't know exactly when we're going to encounter human bone. And the second we do, we want to stop and dig very, very carefully.
You want to brush it off?
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's a little brush. You might want to clean that up a little because you're getting very close to where you should be seeing something.
Not consistent.
You can get that out of there.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm a research scientist, and I like taking these forensic techniques, these same procedures, plus really other kinds of tests as well, and applying them to interesting projects. And this is one where we can help the archaeologists in Texas confirm the identification of this individual. We're looking for evidence of cause of death. We're looking for any types of pathology. We'll look for details about what his life was like, anything we can tell about him as an individual, as well as what happened to him.
That's good. That's a pretty robust bone there. I looked at it. It looks pretty thick. So if anything, he was stout. It's going to continue on, and you're going to get the tibia and fibula. So you're going to get, you can pretty much go in the line there.
When I want to pull stuff out, I just want to make sure it's mapped in.
Baseline 51 and a half.
Okay.
Over is 41 and a half.
Our excavation now has given us some really great details about the skeleton and some of the information about the conditions of burial of the person down here. We know from the morphology of the skeleton, he's about a medium stature individual, about 5 foot 4 inches, 5 foot 5 inches tall. But beyond that, we're picking up some additional important information in terms of the clothing that he was buried with. We have a number of buttons now. We have some milk glass buttons that are part of a shirt that he was wearing, a button in each cuff and another button at the top that we haven't quite figured out. And then we're seeing some buttons that indicate that he was buried in some sort of outer pants.
Not likely about where our county realizes it's not real hard science, but we're all. So we're at the stage now where we've provided the infield assistance that we can do.
39 centimeters.
The next stage is going to be laboratory, and one of the top priorities is to test to see what kinds of molecular information we can get, chemical information that we can get. We look at multiple lines of evidence, not everything. A lot of times people think all answers will come from the DNA. There's so many different lines of evidence, and you piece them all together, and it is with those multiple lines that then you come to the conclusion as to who is this individual. Well, if we can piece it together through other things, I think we'll come to a conclusion that really says this is Mr. Coryell.